Good morning, welcome. Thank you for joining us this morning. We're going to give a few minutes for folks to join and then we'll get started. If you're just joining us, welcome. We're just going to give it a couple more minutes to let folks join and then we'll get started. Okay, good morning. We'll probably have a few folks jump on a few minutes late, but we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us here today. We're here to talk about Charge Up New Jersey, the New Jersey's Best in Nation EV Incentive Program. I'm going to turn it over to Jim Appleton to do a quick intro.
Thanks, Kristen, and good morning to everyone. Just very briefly, last year, the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities handed out $36.8 million in electric vehicle incentives. That's the good news. The bad news for most of you is that 83% of that, or $30 million, went to one brand, Tesla. Let's face it, year one of the program was a giveaway to consumers who had already made the decision to buy electric. The goal for year two is to make this program function like a true incentive program, offering significant cash on the hood to car buyers who are willing to make the switch. That's where the franchise dealers come in, the franchise dealers who are on this call. Last year, you offered 40 plus vehicles with a plug, but captured only 20% of the EV market. This year, franchise dealers have many more EVs to offer at every price point and in every conceivable body style. Last year, most automakers failed to recognize the value of the New Jersey EV incentive program and didn't send cars to New Jersey or didn't have cars to send because of the COVID-induced shutdowns. This year, automakers are aware of the program, and to the extent that they can build cars in a chip shortage, they will build and send EVs to New Jersey so that all of you, and more importantly, all of your customers, can take full advantage of the program. Now, this is the first step. All of you signing on to this webinar and learning how to enroll in the point of sale program puts you, your sales team, and your dealership in the driver's seat when it comes to helping your customers understand the benefits of driving electric. I want to thank the CSE for their efforts in structuring a program that will work for dealers and EV curious buyers, and I look forward to seeing just how effective the franchise dealers on this call will be in helping their customers make the switch and take full advantage of this program. Kristen?
Great, thank you for that. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Kristen Walls and I'm a program manager here with the Center for Sustainable Energy, the Charge Up New Jersey program administrator. Thank you for taking the time to be here. I'm looking forward to reviewing some details and requirements and outlining the dealership enrollment process for the Charge Up program, which, by the way, is considered the best electric vehicle incentive program in the nation. It's really exciting. And we'll also cover some of the key functions available to dealers after you complete your enrollment. Okay, next slide, please. Oh, nope. Let's go back. Sorry about that. Getting ahead of myself here. About CSE, before we jump into it, I'd like to give you a little bit of background about who we are and what we do. CSE is a mission-driven nonprofit organization with a straightforward mission to decarbonize. We pursue our mission across several states in areas of clean energy, including administration of numerous EV incentive programs in California, Oregon, New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and right here in New Jersey. Okay, now next slide. In addition to our expertise in clean transportation, we also administer programs and publish expertise in arenas of built environment, technology, convergence, acting in alignment with CSC's 5 core values of equity, resilience, sustainability, transparency, and policy. Next slide. Today, we'll cover several major topics. Firstly, we'll provide an overview of the Charge Up New Jersey program to date, including the transition to point of sale program model, enabling New Jersey policies, eligibility requirements, and resources to be available for the greater adoption of electric vehicles. We'll also cover how dealers can get involved and walk through the process of enrollment. Finally, we'll give you a look at the dealer dashboard, which will become available to you once enrollment is complete, along with sample applications. You can take a look at what the application will look like. Next slide. Okay, at its core, Charge Up New Jersey is designed to directly motivate consumers, incentivizing an EV purchase or lease instead of a traditional combustion engine vehicle. Incentive programs like these are a powerful value proposition for consumers, driving them towards the decision to acquire an EV. In tandem with lowering fuel maintenance and costs, the point of sale incentive serves as a valuable driver to customers to make the switch to driving electric. The point of sale incentive can serve as a powerful marketing resource for dealers who remain up to date on program and the EV market. Next slide, please. Charge Up New Jersey was a result of the state of New Jersey's legislative commitment to deploying up to 3,030, let's try that again, 330,000 light-duty EVs by the end of 2025, 2 million EVs by 2035, and 85% of new light-duty sales and leased EVs by 2040. To commensurate these aggressive goals, the state has set the best in nation incentive of up to $5,000 per vehicle. And the rate of the vehicle might be a little different this year. I know last year it was $25 per EPA rated electric vehicle mile. We're still waiting to see how that might shift a little bit this year. Last year, in the first year of the program, these incentives were available to consumers through a post-purchase program model. As you know, come summer 2021, Charge Up New Jersey will enter phase 2, a point of sale model which allows dealers to advertise the incentive as a cash on the hood incentive for eligible EV models. This means that your consumers will not have to wait to receive their incentive. They'll be able to get the incentive amount off their EV when they go in to purchase their vehicle. So we hope that this will be a much more effective way for you to market the incentive and to get those people driving electric, knowing that they don't have to wait, a week or a month or several months even to have the incentive. They can have it when they walk out the door. The following slide details the incentive changes from program year 1 to program year 2. Okay. So year 1, we know plug-in electric, plug-in hybrid vehicles. They had to be purchased or leased in the state of New Jersey, must be registered in New Jersey to a New Jersey licensed driver. MSRP had to be lower than 55 grand. And then we had the $25 per EV mile. And it was a post-purchase incentive, and the vehicle had to be purchased between January 17th and December 15th, 2020. This is what we're proposing for year two. We're still waiting on these final details because BPU is still going through a public stakeholdering process. So we're still waiting on the final details, but what we're looking at most likely is an incentive for plug-in electric or plug-in hybrid vehicles that must be purchased or leased in the state of New Jersey, must be registered to New Jersey or New Jersey licensed driver, registered in New Jersey, excuse me, just like last year. Same MSRP, and then the 25% e-mile up to 5,000 for vehicles with an MSRP under 45,000. So we've tweaked this a little bit to hopefully make it a more fair market and do a better job of incentivizing the consumers we aim to incentivize. Again, you'll have to stay tuned to see if there are any changes, but this is what we're thinking so far. So I hope this is good news to you. And as you can see, we're still keeping the $5,000 incentive for certain vehicles. This year, we already discussed, it'll be a point of sale incentive, which is great. And the vehicles that will be eligible will be vehicles that meet the criteria above and are purchased after the fiscal year launch until funding is exhausted. So you'll need, this is an important point, you'll need to wait until the program is launched for vehicles to be eligible for the incentive. So the launch date of the program is the first date that the purchase or lease of qualifying vehicles will be eligible. And then just like last year, they'll be eligible until funding is exhausted. And I just want to say, I know that we've received a lot of feedback about funding lasting through the whole year, and we've definitely taken that into consideration, but still need to say it, should funding be exhausted, that will be when vehicles are no longer eligible. Okay, next slide. Okay, so which consumers and vehicles are eligible to participate? Light-duty battery electric or plug-in hybrid vehicles with an MSRP below 55,000 are eligible. Consumers must be New Jersey residents with a New Jersey ID. This is going to be important for you in the point of sale. You need to make sure that they have a New Jersey driver's license to prove their residency. Unless they're military personnel stationed within New Jersey, then we will accept alternate proof of residency documents for them. Again, they need to be able to prove, though, that they live in New Jersey as their primary residence. The vehicle itself must also be purchased or leased on or after the date of the Phase 2 program launch in summer 2021, and it must be registered in New Jersey. We'll go more in depth with some of these eligibility requirements, but please note that these are the requirements, and other terms and conditions will be available on the program website for reference. The website will be available on the launch date of the program. Your enrollment portal will be open before that, so you can enroll and get familiar with it prior to the launch of the program. Next slide. In addition to the terms and conditions and program eligibility requirements, the program website will also include resources for dealerships, including a guidebook for EV dealers, flyers, marketing collateral, pre-recorded training webinars, and nationwide resources detailing the locations of EV charging stations. These are all going to be great tools for you to help you through the incentive and also help you market it to consumers. Next slide. We want to pause for a second and note that NJ Car has informed us many dealers have sparse EV inventories at this moment, and that there might be a lag time between the launch of the point of sale program model and pickup in the availability of EV inventory. We're sensitive to this, and we encourage you to reach out to OEMs and prompt for greater EV inventories ahead of time, especially as CSC has observed a significant increase in EV sales in states with EV incentive programs like ChargeUp. Considering these circumstances, it's in the best interest of dealers to be fully enrolled in the program in preparation for the greater EV inventories across the board. Please, if you can, enroll ahead of time, be prepared so that when the EVs are on your lot, you can start to receive this incentive as soon as the program launches. We also understand that there's some hesitancy to fill up valuable space on the lot with EV inventory without transparency into the remaining incentive funding. To help address this concern, there will be a publicly available dashboard with statistics, which will offer insight into remaining funding and program metrics. So this year, you will be able to see where funding is. When you go in the morning, you'll be able to feel confident that funding is available for you when you make those deals, which is critical since it's a point of sale program. Okay, slide 11, or next slide. Okay, beyond our experience in observing the expansion of EV inventories, once these incentive programs hit their stride, several automobile manufacturers have made strong commitments to expanding their fleet of available EVs, paired with significant investment of EV technology. Here are some examples of these commitments, almost all of which are set to occur within the next 10 years. Another compelling reason for dealers to get on board as soon as they can. Next slide. So how do dealers get involved? The first major step is to follow through with enrollment. Dealers must be enrolled in order to participate in the program. Enrollment is a simple and short process, which takes about 20 minutes. Dealers will need to have financial information or an authority on the dealership finances on hand, as dealers will receive incentive funds via direct wire transfer. Enrollment will become available 3 weeks prior to the launch date of the program, which we can now announce as summer 2021. As part of the BPU budget process, final details will require the board approval and are contingent on state funding. The new fiscal year begins on July 1st, 2021. Okay, and then just to be clear, the program is going to launch in summer 2021. The new fiscal year begins in July 1st. You will receive access to Enroll several weeks prior to the formal launch of the program. We encourage you to promptly enroll, and that way you will be ready on launch day to start desking deals and issuing the incentives, since the launch day of the program will be the first day those vehicles are eligible to receive the incentive. Next slide. Once the enrollment window is open, dealers and showrooms will receive an email with a link to the ChargeUp website where they can begin the enrollment process. The link you receive will bring you to this landing page. Dealers will need to provide some basic dealership information for the purpose of verification, along with some information for a primary contact. Primary contact should be, like someone who's going to be overseeing the bulk of these, maybe like a general manager. Okay, next slide. It's extremely important to note that the contact information provided on this page will be considered the primary contact of the dealership, who's responsible for managing the account, and must be privy to the dealership's banking information for those direct ACH transfers. These primary contacts should be someone on the level of general sales manager, finance manager, owner, someone of this level of oversight who has access to financial information within the dealership. Once you've provided some basic contact information for this individual, go to the next slide, please. You'll see this confirmation page indicating, primary contact information here, and then go to the next page. Yes, then you'll see this confirmation page indicating we've received your request, and we'll send an email to the contact provided after we verify the details provided. Again, this should take 20 minutes for you to enroll, and then really short turnaround time for us to let you know that you've been enrolled, likely, a day or two. Next slide. Okay, here's an example of the email you receive once you complete the verification process. You're going to be given a unique dealership ID, and you'll need to keep this somewhere safe. You'll need this ID to follow through with account creation. Before moving to the creation of your account, you'll need to ensure that you have ACH banking information for the dealership on hand. The payments will be sent via ACH, and it's necessary when you create an account. Next slide. Once you open the Create an Account link, you'll be brought to this page and prompted for the unique ID provided in the email I just showed you, and you'll enter this ID and select Search Dealership. Next slide. You will once again be prompted for some basic information, which allows us to tie the account we created to your dealership to the primary contact with the information provided. Fill out this page and then click Submit. Next slide. Upon submission, you'll be brought to the main dealership dashboard. The first time you access the dashboard, you'll have this message at the top of the page prompting you to enter your ACH banking information. In order to complete the step, select Edit Dealership ACH. This is the only time you'll have to do this. You must enter your ACH information before you can begin submitting applications. So this has to be done prior to submitting your first application. Next slide. You'll be brought to this page, which prompts you to enter your ACH banking information. Upon completing this form, make sure that you select Save Changes option at the bottom of the page, and you'll be returned to the dealership dashboard. You want to make sure that it goes through and you fully submit it so we can finish enrolling you. And then next slide. You're enrolled. Great. So then after a short enrollment period by CSE where we're confirming your ACH payment, things like that, confirming your dealership in New Jersey, you will be fully approved by CSE, and then you'll immediately have access to a number of tools along with 3 transferable licenses to be used at the dealer's discretion, providing access to the platform for several employees. So now you have your main contact, and then you can select several employees, sales reps who are going to be out on the floor selling vehicles, and they'll have their own login underneath the primary one. And then the primary contacts will be able to control those licenses too. So should someone, not be available, you need to add someone else in, you can switch those licenses around. We'll touch on some best practices and lessons learned in subsequent webinars, but an important one to note for the time being is that it's good to designate a dealership EV specialist and grant them access to the incentive portal, someone who's probably going to be helping with these deals and knows what to talk about. Okay, next slide. Okay, so now we're going to go over some key functions available to you from the dealership dashboard. These major functions include managing account information, submitting applications, and reviewing the status of already submitted applications. It's important to note that only the primary contact will be able to edit dealership ACH information, as well as grant access to other dealership employees. Again, this is why you want to pick a GM, a director of finance, someone like that to oversee the account. Next slide. If you'd like to redistribute which of your employees have a license access in the dashboard to submit applications, you can do this via the Manage Employees option. Next slide. This is the dialog box, which will open and allow you to remove and add employees. Again, only the primary contact has access to this function. Each employee who are granted the access will only be able to change their own account password, file incentive applications, and check the status of existing applications. Next slide. Now we'll go over the creation and submission of a sample application. To start a new incentive application, select the New Application button shown in red. Next slide. This will open a dialog which allows you to verify the customer's driver's license number for the purpose of ensuring a customer is not exceeding the maximum number of incentives as an individual can receive over the lifetime of the charge-up program. You also want to ensure, of course, that they have a New Jersey's driver's license, since they need the New Jersey ID to verify proof of residency unless they're military personnel stationed in New Jersey. Once you have verified the customer's driver's license number, select Start Application. Next slide. Okay, firstly, you must indicate that you've read and agreed to the terms and conditions of the program. Next. On the next page, you'll be prompted to provide information about the customer who is buying, ordering, leasing the vehicle, including their name, contact information, and residential address. Next slide. Okay, this is a page for vehicle information, including VIN, make, model, year, and whether vehicle is a purchase or a lease. Next slide. This is the final page where you'll review the information that you've entered so far for accuracy, as well as completing upload of required documents. This is really important. It's really important that you upload the required documents to finish submitting your application. Next slide. Required documents include the terms and conditions signed by the customer. Electronic copies are okay. Proof of residency in New Jersey, which again needs to be a New Jersey driver's license or proof of military stationing in New Jersey. The purchase or lease agreement for the vehicle and the vehicle registration. Since this is point of sale, the application for registration is okay, that we will accept that. Samples of each of these documents will be provided via the more information links. Next. Once you've completed the upload of documents, you're all set. You'll be brought to the confirmation page, which provides you with the application number, and you'll receive updates on each application via email. You can also navigate to the dashboard and check the status of incentive applications that have been submitted. I want to point out here that if you're following all the eligibility requirements, you have an eligible applicant and vehicle, then you should be good to go, and you'll see the email come through that says the application's approved. However, you will need to make sure that all of the required documents are uploaded and uploaded correctly before we approve the application. So should you upload an incorrect document, just a piece of scratch paper instead of the application for registration, for example, we will reject that. And then you will have to actually go back and upload the correct document, of course, so we have it before we approve the application. So your application is not entirely approved until we have all the information we need to approve you. Just keep an eye out for that. Again, shouldn't be an issue if it's someone who's eligible and you have the required documents. It'll be approved on the first time. You don't have to worry about it. Okay. Okay, next page. Okay, so once you navigate back to your dashboard, you should be able to see the application you just submitted along with a brief summary. This table will look different for employees and the primary dealership contact. That's a really important point. So what you see in the dashboard looks different for employees and for the dealer primary contact. The dealer primary contact will be able to see the name of the submitting dealer, whereas the employees only will be able to see the applications they themselves have filed. This is important again because if there's an issue with your application and it's not fully complete, your primary contact might be wondering why an application isn't paid out in a certain week, and it's because it's sitting in incomplete status if you don't take initiative and upload the correct documents and complete the application. So really important to remember that that dashboard looks different depending on which user access you have. Next slide. Okay, that about wraps everything up we'll be covering today, but before we move on to questions and discussion, I do want to note that we'll be providing another opportunity to receive this training on June 17th and June 22nd. This webinar is also recorded. This event on the 17th will take place from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. The event on the 22nd will take place from 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. This is a great opportunity for dealers, controllers, or those responsible for dealership finances to receive the same detailed walkthrough of enrollment, dealer dashboard, along with room to ask questions that arise over the course of the next weeks. Next slide. As we pivot towards the Q&A section of the webinar, here are some frequently asked questions we've historically received related to the launch of the point of sale program models. Many of these questions can be answered with resources available on the program website, which will be available at the launch of the program, but you're always welcome to reach out to us with any inquiries that arise in the meantime. With that, I'd like to thank you all for making time to be here today. I'll remain paused on the slide for a few moments so you can read through these frequently asked questions. but feel free to begin submitting questions via the chat box. Okay, and then we can move on. I think there might be one more finishing up slide into the Q&A. Yes. So we're making good time, so we have some time for Q&A, but I'd just like to thank you all once more for taking time to learn a little bit about the Charge Up New Jersey program. Let's see. Okay, I see some questions coming in. Okay, first question, when does enrollment go live? We're 3 weeks away from the 1st of July. What is the turnaround time on applications? So we haven't publicly announced a date yet for the launch of the program. It will be in summer 2021. What we can tell you is that you will have likely 3 weeks or more to enroll. So when we give you the information that it's time to enroll, please do enroll, and you will have a good few weeks to get ready for it for the program to launch. Funding is released on the 1st of July. That's correct. So you know the program won't be launching prior to that date, but we don't have a public launch date yet. Let's see. Okay, will destination and delivery charges on the manufacturer window sticker count towards the MSRP of the vehicle? Again, we're still in the public stakeholdering program with BPU, so those final details might shift a little bit, and I encourage you to pay attention. We'll provide updates, and there will be information on the website specifically about MSRP as well in the FAQs, and you will have those resources available to you before the launch of the program. Will customers who took advantage of last year's program be eligible for incentives? If they purchased a new EV in that time, I think it's probably unlikely, but if they did, they will be eligible as long as it is a new EV and they haven't reached the limit for the lifetime of the program yet. The important thing to remember here is that, first of all, they have an ownership requirement for their previous vehicle, so they do have to hang on to their previous vehicle for a bit, but maybe they purchased a second EV, leased another EV, whatever the case is. If they are eligible, they would have to purchase or lease their new EV on or after the launch date of the program. That's the important piece. Will customers be eligible for the incentive if they purchase or lease on 7/1, but we're not able to apply for the incentive for a later date, similar to last year? Will this be retro? No, it will not be retroactive. So when we launch the program, that date will be the first date those applicants are able to purchase or lease their vehicle and then receive an incentive for it through this program. There will not be any retroactive eligibility. So again, you and the applicants will need to wait until the date of program launch in summer 2021 to be eligible to receive this incentive. Why is there an MSRP maximum? We have vehicles that have MSRPs just over that. Why are they excluded? We try to aim to incentivize consumers who might not otherwise purchase an electric vehicle. And we try to make sure that the funds are going to incentivize specifically those applicants. So it's common to have MSRPs in place so that we're excluding things like luxury vehicles and folks who might have decided to purchase electric even without the incentive. We really we're trying to target the incentive critical population, folks again who would probably go with a combustion engine if this incentive wasn't available. When does enrollment go live? We're 3 weeks away from 7/1. Enrollment will go live at least 3 weeks before the launch of the program, so you don't need to worry about that. You will have time to enroll. Yes, funding is released on the 1st of July, but right now our program date is summer 2021, and enrollment will happen a few weeks at least before the launch of the program, not necessarily the release of funding on 7/1. What is the turnaround time on applications? This is a good question. Applications will generally be processed the same week that you apply. Now, if we have to reject, if there's an issue with the application, if we have to reject a document, say you uploaded one document twice instead of all of your required documents, then you will need to submit the new document, and then it sort of depends on how long it takes you to upload the new document, and then we will re-review the document and approve. Once you have an approval status, we will be invoicing via ACH pretty quickly, but our formal payment term is a month. So you can rest assured that you will get your payment within a month. One second. Okay. What is the enrollment site? So we covered this in the webinar, but you will receive an email with a link to the site when enrollment is open. Enrollment is not open yet, but it will likely be opening soon. So keep your eyes peeled for that, and we'll give you a heads up too. What if someone buys, leases a vehicle, and then moves a year later? Are the dealers at risk of being charged back the incentive money? Um, the onus is on the applicant to, you know what, I'm going to take this one offline because I'm not entirely sure that I'm answering it correctly, so we will get you an answer for that one offline because I want to make sure that I don't misspeak. Same question, so we'll get you an answer to those. If they qualify for the New Jersey program, do they still qualify for any federal incentives? It depends if the incentives are stackable or not. We'll get back to you with a clear answer on this one, but I believe they would still. What is the incentive for? As in, what is it paid out for? I'm not sure I quite understand this question. So if you want to reach out to us, we'll provide you with an answer offline. Can a non-New Jersey dealer apply for this incentive for a New Jersey resident that purchased an EV out of state? No, this is New Jersey incentive. It's for residents of New Jersey, and it will need to go through dealerships and showrooms that are in New Jersey. Are you aware of anything for heavy, medium-duty vehicles similar to this program? This is a residential program, so that's all we can speak to today. So far, this is a consumer program, nothing commercial, medium, or heavy duty here. Yes, so this is an important point. This is not a retroactive incentive. So anyone who purchased an EV in the last month will not receive an incentive. After the incentive is approved, our payment term has a month to issue payment back to the dealership via ACH. It will likely be much quicker than that, but the formal payment term is 1 month. Again, that's contingent upon approval. So it's really important that dealers and dealerships make sure that the folks that they're applying on behalf of are eligible for the program, meet all of the eligibility requirements. The vehicles meet the eligibility requirements. Most importantly, that the vehicle was purchased or leased at the launch date of the program or afterwards. And also, there's some due diligence required on part of the dealerships to make sure that the application is completely submitted and submitted correctly. And should the application not be submitted correctly the first time, then the dealership will need to re-upload documents or correct whatever the mistake is in the application before they receive approval. And then once they receive approval, formal payment term is a month. It'll probably be much closer to weekly payouts, but a month is how long we have. Will you send enrollment emails to anyone who's registered for this webinar, or do we have to supply an email address somewhere else? If you are enrolled in this webinar, you will receive a link to enroll. Yes. Okay, I think that's all our questions. Are there any more? And if there are, feel free to reach out to us after this call. Happy to answer questions offline as well. Okay, well, thank you so much for taking the time to learn a little bit more about this program. All registrants will receive a recording of this webinar along with a copy of the slides so you can review at your leisure. Again, always welcome to contact us with questions or concerns we didn't cover here today, and we will get you answers to those questions. We look forward to working with all of you, and we hope you're excited and looking forward to moving many more electric vehicles. Thank you.